Welcome to the Real Life Wellness Podcast, the show where we explore how to create your own wellness. We dive into everything that happens on the journey to a happier, healthier, and more balanced life. I'm your host, Faith Lauterbach. As a registered nurse and a holistic wellness coach, I have a passion for empowering people to create a vision for their life, prioritize themselves, and then live the life they want. So get ready to discover new ways to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. Let's embark on this journey together and make wellness simple. Hello, and welcome to the Real Life Wellness Podcast. Today, we have a very exciting episode number 30, and I am going to be interviewing for the first time on my podcast. And we're going to kick this interview off with my husband, Seth. So I have a little bio to read before we start. Seth grew up in a small town in Nebraska. He served in the U.S. Navy straight out of high school, spending 4 years on active duty and 2 years in the Navy Reserves. He continued to work in aviation for 8 years, and during that time completed his undergraduate degree at UNL in nutrition and exercise science. He then went on to PA school at Union College, and now he's been a PA for 15 years, working in general surgery, emergency medicine, and landing in what seems to be a fit, working in trauma and surgical critical care. He also serves as a PA in the National Guard. He lives in Lincoln with his wife, Faith. That's me. And dog Lilo. He enjoys working out, spending time outdoors, and with their kids and family. So, with all that being said, welcome, Seth.
Thank you.
How are you feeling about being here
I feel good.
and being my first guest?
I'm excited to be your first guest.
Static, even?
Probably.
Okay, so maybe you saw me requesting questions to ask during this interview with Seth. So some of these questions are going to be ones that came from that request, and some of them are other ones that we came up with. So the first question, and this is a listener question, is tell us the story of how you met.
Well, we both happened to be working out at the same gym. Both found ourselves in very similar places in life, having both been in long-term relationships that we were no longer in, and both with teenage kids, and both kind of committing to being full-time parents and focusing on being parents and not really looking for anything or anyone. But sometimes that's just how way it works, I guess. So yeah, we ended up going to the same CrossFit. We were at a CrossFit gym. We were going to the same class, 9:30 a.m. class.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just started having like very natural conversations after class that kind of grew. And then we started taking walks after class, kind of cool down walks, quote unquote, I guess. And then the conversations continued. We're still talking to each other, so I guess that's good.
We are, and it's being recorded. I want to add a little something in that. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, you're half of the stories, though.
So another thing, Seth is always such a gentleman, and something that was really fun that he did that got my attention was I, at the time, worked for a nonprofit, and we needed help moving. We had a moving project we were getting rid of old desks, getting new, someone was donating us their desk. So we needed help 3 separate times with this project. So I thought I would utilize this CrossFit gym I was going to for strong people to help us with this move. And so I put up a sign up like, hey, here's the 3 times we need help. If anybody's interested, please sign up here and I will contact you with the details. And Seth signed up for all 3 times and came and helped. Um, and it was kind of a big project. Got my attention for sure.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a purely altruistic situation, to be honest. I was interested,
Mhm.
so I thought, how do I see this person outside of the gym? And so I was doing some research, I guess you would say. So
Well, it worked. Here we are.
here we are.
Here we are, like what, 7 years later?
Um, yeah, seven
So
years
cool.
later.
Yeah. All right. Well, so yeah, that's our story. In a nutshell, there's of course lots more details and things in there, but that's the nutshell version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So second question is, what has been your favorite trip that we've taken together? This is another listener question, by the way.
Okay. Can I have three answers
Yeah,
to this?
go for it.
Okay. So I have three answers to this question. Because there's three very important trips that were taken. The first one, we had been dating for 6 months or so. And because I feel like because we had come into the relationship in very similar places, with similar feelings about how to be in a relationship with someone and how to be a parent and just how to be in life, that things kind of naturally fell in place very quickly. And I feel like that was noticed um, very easily by our family. So the first trip that was a favorite of mine was 6 months in to us dating, and we went down to Mexico, to Cancun, for a one of Faith's friends, besties, birthdays. Um, and I had spoke to her about this ahead of time, so I got
Friend.
the friend. So I got clearance, but decided to propose um, basically during sunrise. Um, and the funny thing was that it was kind of tricky because Faith thought we should sleep in the next day, and I had to nicely but I guess aggressively
Not a
suggest that maybe we should get up and watch the sunrise. So anyway, that was number one. The second favorite trip would have been our wedding. We got married in Mexico. Um so that was a very cool trip with almost 50 friends and family that I don't know how you can duplicate such a trip.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, we found a resort that was very family friendly. We had a lot of young family members. So that was
Nieces and
important to
nephews
us.
and such.
Yeah, nieces and nephews. And our kids were there, of course, and that was just a great time with family. And you have the ability to be with each other all day if you want, and then if you want to go do your own thing for an hour or two or four or whatever, it's there's so much that everybody can do. So that was a very great trip
Mhm.
all the way around. And then my third choice, I guess, would be a year and a half ago. We went on a trip with some other family and another couple on a catamaran liveaboard trip around the U.S. Virgin Islands, and then we did some time kind of also in the British Virgin Islands. But you wake up on the boat, you go to bed on the boat,
Mm.
you see the sunrise, you see the sunset. It's probably one of the greatest trips that I've ever had, that I can ever recall. Honestly, just super awesome. So,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of a water person anyway, so That was just a great trip.
Yeah, there's definitely a theme in all those. Is
I
beach.
guess we're on the beach here on every trip.
Yeah. Awesome. Those were great trips. I agree. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit. And obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you know that I support and seek out holistic wellness. Now, that word holistic wellness can mean different things to different people. So I'm curious for you, what does holistic wellness mean to you personally? Not like what it means for me to you, but what it means to you.
Um, I think holistic always gets kind of a bad rap. Just there's a certain connotation that goes with it. But I think what it really is just like kind of mind, body, spirit type of a situation where, each day you should have a time in the day where you're focusing on each of those things. So, in the morning, you and I both kind of have routines, so to speak, but they're different from each other. Like they're our own routines. So,
Hmm.
I don't get up and journal and listen to a meditation, but I get up and I drink coffee and then, I'll try to do some stretching if I'm not being too lazy about it, to be honest. But then I do a lot of things in the car. So like, in my car ride to work, I have a very specific routine. I'll listen to like a daily devotional and just kind of have more quiet time to think about things. So that, kind of gets into some of the mental and the spiritual side. And then, I'll do similar on the way home. And then of course, some sort of movement each day, whether we just go for a walk or we're doing some kind of planned workout. I think that's super important, just to kind of have the balance. So I think that's really what it comes down to is kind of having an all around balance to your wellness.
Yeah, I like it. Mind, body, spirit. Okay, so our next question is, are there any mindset shifts you've made over the years that improved your health or happiness?
I would say two big things. One of them is trying to put a priority on sleep, not mindset so much, but like making sleep a priority because that is such a huge benefit basically in every part of your day. You feel more energy because you're more rested. Um, some of that entails some routines as far as like what you do before bed. When maybe you're paying a little more attention to when you're taking in caffeine, things like that, or exercising, but then you have more energy the next day and the day after that and the day after that if you kind of keep a routine that way. And then the other thing is really focusing on being more growth mindset oriented and looking at failures as learning opportunities instead of hard stops, which, looking back, I think it's always good to look back, um, to learn about yourself. And, at least when I was younger, I thought, oh, I failed at this, or, I didn't win this, or I didn't score high enough on this, or whatever. And I failed. And making that kind of a point where there's nothing, no coming back from that when the reality is that you never truly fail, you just learn, or hopefully you learn. So I feel like a mindset shift for me was trying to take more of these experiences and turning them into learning opportunities and seeing like, okay, what did I do well? And what didn't I do well, or could I have done better? And kind of analyzing it a little bit and seeing like, because there will be a next time, maybe not that specific thing, whatever the event was or situation was, but maybe there'll be something similar in the future that then I have ammunition now that I can perform better or just do a better job the next time around.
Do you have an example of something like that that you have been able to use an opportunity that your previous younger self would have thought of it as a failure, and you have been able to now, as you've shifted into this growth mindset, um, learn from it instead.
Um, one big example would be I, I was a PA for 4 years doing general surgery, and then um, I just wanted more of a challenge, I guess. I was very interested in emergency medicine as well, and so I tried to get an emergency medicine job on the weekend that I could do, a weekend or two a month, and I kept being denied or turned down for the jobs that I was applying for. And the reason was I didn't have any emergency medicine experience. Um, so how do you get emergency medicine experience without emergency medicine experience?
Mhm.
That's kind of tricky. So I had to kind of think of, I guess, as another piece too with kind of the growth mindset idea is like, okay, I can't keep doing the same thing and banging my head against the wall and expecting a different outcome. Maybe I need to step back and look around and see, is there another way around this problem? So I looked into emergency medicine fellowship programs. And in that process, that was also a learning experience too, because I got several programs. You apply, they accept you for interviews, and then hopefully, and I got into two programs as far as getting into the interview process, and there was 8 final candidates, and so I interviewed at the first place, and I didn't get in, and second place I didn't get in, and I just was like, you know, what do I got to do here? So I basically contacted the second program's director, and I said, hey, can you give me a no BS answer? Like, just, was I eighth? Was I third? Um,
Because they took the top two, correct?
they took top two.
Hmm.
And I really wanted some constructive feedback, like blunt feedback. I didn't want any fluffy stuff. Just give me some constructive feedback that I can do something with. So uh, luckily, this particular director was very gracious and been giving you a lot of feedback, and I was able to learn from that and do something different and move forward. And then the next program I got an interview for, I got into, and so I think that was a big one as far as an example goes.
Yeah.
That was a great all around experience. Now I'm glad that I didn't get in because I learned something different. And again, it's kind of the idea of taking a failure and maybe changing it to a learning experience instead of failure. Just change the title around and kind of your way of thinking. So,
I love that because you could have taken that second time of quote unquote failing to get in, right? And you could have just said, well, I quit. I'm not going to do that. But
right.
you sought out criticism, sought
Yeah.
out feedback, and then use that for your next application. And then you get in. And if that fixed mindset could have stopped you in your
Right.
tracks.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
really
it
cool.
was it's not like I wasn't, that hadn't crossed my mind. I mean,
Hmm.
you know, two failures, you're expending time and energy and money to go to these interviews. They weren't in Nebraska. Um, you just kind of put yourself out there, and then so yeah, I can't say that I bounced back immediately, but after a day or two, I'm like, okay, I gotta shift gears and figure out how can I turn this into a positive and come up with a better experience next time, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Well, nice job.
Thanks, honey.
You're welcome. All right. So, our next question is going to be, How do you handle moments when you're feeling out of alignment with your own wellness goals?
So everybody kind of has a thing, I guess, or a place that kind of like gives them gives the soul nourishment maybe.
Mm.
So like I love to be outside. So my thing is usually number one, you have to be able to like self-evaluate uh in a healthy way. And that can be very tricky, and I'm not very great at that all the time, for sure. Um but self-evaluate and again is kind of leading into a growth mindset idea as far as like how what happened. And really let me go back and say that um I end up borrowing a lot of military ideas, and one of them is the after action report. And so what was supposed to happen, um so in this case, what was the goal that I was going for, what did happen, uh I got off track or whatever, that I'm now out of alignment with my goal. So then you go into sustains and improves. So like, what was I doing that was good in this case? How was I working in a good way towards the goal? Um, there are things that I should continue to do, and then improves. How could I do things better or differently that would help me stay in alignment with goals? So I I love to use that um, framework, I guess, because I think it does give you a good way to self-analyze in a healthy way, whether you're a person analyzing or you're analyzing your group or whatever it is. But it helps you. I feel like it helps do a good, give you like a good protocol to kind of look at yourself and figure out, because there's going to be some good things that you're doing. Um, And yeah, maybe you need to step back and look and say, hey, maybe I should be doing things differently in this facet or whatever. So for me, I do those things, get out in nature, um, and try to take that moment to enjoy that piece, whatever that piece is for you, that area that kind of nourishes you or refreshes you, and then just some healthy self-evaluation to try to realign. So that, I guess that would be my answer to that one.
Yeah, and I love that because I feel like that's something that I talk about is the like evaluation piece is often a piece that's missed when we're working towards goals or intentions. And without that evaluation, it's like that's where the learning is. That's where the growth is when we evaluate without judgment to ourselves, when it's coming from a place of curiosity, a place of openness, a place of really like just what's going on. Um, when we can evaluate in that way and then make shifts and changes from that space, it's like getting back into alignment is much simpler. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, our last official question is how do we, you and I,
Hmm.
keep each other grounded or balanced during stressful seasons?
Um, that's the easy one.
Mm,
I feel like, and maybe it goes back to kind of the first questions, I guess. Oh, as far as how we met, how we got together. So, um, there's a lot of similarities. Again, I feel like both of us work well together in the sense that, yeah, typically we don't both find ourselves in a stressful situation or season at the same time. So
mm,
that's a plus.
mm-hmm,
Um, and of course we're human. So the one going through the stress can get a little down or a little negative. And I feel like we do a good job as we find ourselves being the one not in the stressful situation to kind of reinforce positive things for the other one. So, for example, if I'm going through some kind of stressful whatever, whatever the situation is, um, it can be easy for me to get negative about it. Um, and what tends to happen with us is that in that case, then you're like, okay, but what was good in your day? And, um, kind of like flipping it as far as, okay, it almost gets into an AAR situation because you're like, okay, what were the good things that happened to you today? Or what was a good thing that happened to you today?
Hmm.
And then you start focusing on positives. And then the way these things always work is that if you start focusing on a thing, you start noticing more around that thing. So if you're focusing on the positives of why my tire was flat, for example, then you can see, oh, well, I was stuck on the side of the road. But what I did notice was that it was a really nice day out and it happened to be, I happened to see a deer on the side of the road or whatever it was.
Hmm.
So you can start to pull out some positives to that. And then it kind of shifts the focus away from the bad that happened and, what did you get out of it? And it goes back to that whole idea of why did this happen to you versus uh, why did this happen for you kind of a thing. So I think you and I are both good at being able to kind of help the other see like, hey, this is a tough time right now, but what's going well? And let's kind of build on the things that are going well. And maybe we can utilize some of that positive energy to turn things around or make it through whatever the stressful time is. So
Yeah, I like it. Speaking of that, like, what are the initials?
AAR,
AAR, the
after action report.
after action report.
I steal that idea at work too, because I think it's just a good way to be able to analyze the situation and or your group performed or whatever.
Yeah, we started actually doing that, kind of something similar to that every evening. We just called it check-in. And it's where both of us take turns saying what was something good from your day or what's something you enjoyed today. And then what's something that didn't go as planned. And then what do you have going on tomorrow? So we kind of it's a good way for us to check in with each other, share some highs and lows, and then us to kind of be on the same page with our schedules. So
Mhm.
that's been something that's been really cool to find little ways to do that.
Yeah. And then we can kind of figure out together too, like those things that didn't go well. Why do we think they didn't go well?
Hmm.
And then you kind of get a different perspective too, which is nice. And then how could things have gone better? And then now the person that went through it has some time to process. And then the other person has a different perspective because they're outside of this and they can say, hey, well, what about this? Oh, yeah, that's a
Hmm.
good idea. So then you kind of bounce some things off each other. So that's kind of fun too.
Yeah, I feel like that has been a really great way for both of us just to get, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And just both of us, I think, being able to go into something with that growth mindset of being open to other options, open to other ideas, is helpful too.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, that is all of the official questions. Do you have any questions you want to ask or anything else you want to say?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today to this first time interview style of the Real Life Wellness Podcast. Thank you so much. And until we meet again, be well. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Real Life Wellness Podcast. To stay updated on my latest episodes and wellness insights, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow me on social media. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to explore, feel free to reach out. I love hearing from you. If you could, please review or rate this podcast on Apple or Spotify to help more people learn how to make wellness simple.